each one of our youths a 2 to 3 minute chance to talk about the personality who we're commemorating tonight. So starting tonight, I'd like to call Brother Mark Kaku to the podium, and he's going to talk about Hazrat Owen and Hazrat Muhammad. Wa Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
Assalamu alaikum. Owen and Muhammad were the sons of Abdullah ibn Ja'far and Bibi Zainab. However, Bibi Zainab was not the biological mother of Muhammad ibn Ja'far, but was the stepmother of Muhammad, as Muhammad was the son of Ja'far's first wife. It is considered in history and tradition that Muhammad was one of Bibi Zainab's children due to the unconditional love and affection that they shared. They had not accompanied Bibi Zainab when she left Medina with Imam Hussain. Just before Imam Hussain started his journey from Makkah, Hazrat Abdullah ibn Ja'far brought his two sons to Makkah, handing them over to Imam Hussain. He said to Imam Hussain, "O Imam, since you have decided to go and will not allow me to come with you, please take my two sons with you. On will represent his maternal grandfather, Hazrat. I have brought to you our two sons to go with you. In the time of difficulty on our Mawla Hussain, give one son as sadaqah from your side and the other one as sadaqah from my side." On and Muhammad were quite young. It is reported that On was about 13 and Muhammad was a year or two younger. They had learnt the art of fencing from their uncle Hazrat Abbas. In the morning, during the general attacks from the enemy, On and Muhammad fought side by side with Ali Akbar, Qasim, and Hazrat Abbas. Every time either of them succeeded in falling an enemy, he would look proudly at Hazrat Abbas, who would smile and nod his approval. After getting permission, the two boys rode out into the battlefield. They fought bravely, and at one point, Omar ibn Saad asked, "Who are these two youngsters? They fight like I have seen Ali ibn Abi Talib fight." When he was told who they were, he ordered his soldiers to give up single combats and surround and kill the boys. On and Muhammad were attacked from all sides. Soon they were overpowered and brutally killed. Imam Hussain and Hazrat Abbas carried the two young bodies to a tent and laid them on the floor. Imam walked to Bibi Zainab's tent. He found her in sajda praying, "O Allah, I thank you for accepting my sacrifice. My heart is filled with pride because my two sons have given their lives for your religion. Thank you."
If I can now please invite our guest speaker, Sheikh Abbas Ismail, to the minbar with the loud Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
This is a demonstration of wirecast. This is a demonstration of wirecast. This is a demonstration of wirecast.
بينك وبين غيرك فأحبب لغيرك ما تحب لنفسك وأكره له ما تكره لها. صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد. Respected elders, brothers, sisters, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is our 6th lecture of this sacred month of Muharram. And tonight's lecture is titled
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
Dealing with People. Before I go into tonight's lecture, there's one point which I left out yesterday, which I want to clarify. Yesterday we were discussing how Islamically is the best way to deal with the world. And you remember that I said that when we look at the world in different ways, the value we can extract from these teachings of Islam is that we take the world as a place of passing and not as a place of permanence. If someone can understand this concept, then dealing with the world becomes very simple. Not easy, but at least the way to deal with it becomes simple and obvious, inshallah. And I discussed with you the hadith of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
This is a demonstration of wirecast,
in which he cautions his companions regarding this concept of Amr bil Ma'ruf. And the Prophet cautions them on 3 levels. He says, number 1, a time will come when people will abandon Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. Worse than this will be that they begin to do the opposite. They begin to encourage the evil and forbid the good.
This is a demonstration
And then
of
even
wirecast.
worse than this is when values become mixed up. And people will start to consider good as evil and evil as good. Now, the world throws at us certain challenges and certain weapons. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And our first Imam in Nahjul Balagha, he describes this. He says, Ayyuhan nas, O people, Inna akhwafa ma akhafu alaykum ithnatan. The most worrying of all of those things about which I am worried about for you are 2 things. These 2 are the most worrying to our Imam. Ittiba'ul hawa wa tulul amal. The first, we've heard time and time again,
demonstration of
is when a person obeys and follows his base desires. In other words, he becomes animalistic. He loses that human quality of his. And the second is very interesting. The second is tulul amal. In Arabic, we have one word which is amal with ain and amal with hamza or alif. Amal with ain, what does it mean? Action. Here Mawla says amal with hamza. What is amal with hamza? What is amal with hamza? Anyone knows? Yeah, like a long, far away hope, or like a dream, or like an idea which is distant. Imam says, I'm scared for you for these 2 things. Number 1, if you follow your base desires and you let your base desires dictate to you, this is number 1. Number 2 is when you have unrealistic and far-reaching, unobtainable dreams and hopes. Now, Imam says, فَأَمَّا اتِّبَاعُ الْهَوَى فَيَسُدُّ عَنِ الْحَقِّ. As for following your base desires, it will take you away from truth. We've seen this. We know this from our own lives, from the people around us, that those who are consumed with the lusts of this world often are not able to see the truth in matters. They are led astray. They follow their desires.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
وَأَمَّا طُولُ الْأَمَلِ فَيُنْسَى الْآخِرَةِ. Now this is very important. As for lengthy hopes and unrealistic dreams, they cause the forgetting of the hereafter. Where is this connection? How does having long dreams and aspirations cause one to forget the hereafter?
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
Where is how do we merge these two? One is consumed in going after these long aspirations and desires. Let me put it in another way. The world, if I take it in this way, has two ways, and Shaitan manipulates these two ways to make us forget our real existence. Greed and fear. Greed and fear. Greed in what sense? Greed in the sense that I can see people have got certain things. I want them. Once upon a time, I would have been happy with a small house.
This is a demonstration
when I had no house,
wirecast.
I would have been happy with a small house. And maybe I used to say to myself, oh Allah, grant me this small house, it's enough for me. But once I get that house, after a few months, I start to crave a bigger house. I get a car. I say, if I get this car, it'll be enough for me. I get that car, now I want another car. I earn X amount. After a while, I want to earn a higher amount. Now, this is a problem if it gets out of hand, because it can consume a person. It can take over the mind of a person. It can divert us totally from our real goal. So instead of being busy in the life hereafter and working for the hereafter, all of a sudden, we are hell-bent in working for this world. So we are falling victim to that same worldview that this place is a place of permanence. Whereas really we should be thinking that no, this place is a place of passing by. And the other is fear.
A demonstration of wirecast.
This world is such, and the nature of the world is such, that even when you have things, you fear. What do you fear? You fear that this may go from me. I may lose this. So even while Allah gives bounties, it comes with it a sense of fear that God forbid that I should lose this. So again, our sukoon, our peace of mind, our tranquility is taken away because all of a sudden we've become accustomed to a lifestyle that we want to maintain by hook or by crook. Let me share with you a golden nugget, a beautiful philosophy. Too many people spend money they don't have to buy things they don't need, to impress people they don't know. Isn't this a lovely nutshell of some people's lives?
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
Too many people spend money they don't have on things they don't need to impress people they don't know. Guess where this nugget of wisdom came from? From, would you say, a hadith? From Quran? From some kind of Zen Buddhist writer, mystic? No. I was flicking through my WhatsApp and I saw this on someone's WhatsApp profile. Even the most simple, mundane things can be very, very philosophical and very, very inspiring. But we need to have those kinds of eyes which are switched on to these things. But this is beautiful. It encapsulates it very nicely. So what happens is that because we spend more and more of our time online, and especially social media is a big culprit in this. Now, I've said before, it's a reality of life, whether we like it or not. And it's wonderful in many aspects. Social media, for example, is very good for business. It's very good for networking. It's very good for example, statistics. It's very good for when you want to raise awareness of a certain issue. You can make things go viral. So these are very good positive things. However, one of the bad sides of social media is For example, if I'm unhappy in my life and I click on someone's profile and I see lovely smiles on people's faces, his wife looks happy, he looks happy, his children look happy, they're going on wonderful excursions and holidays, they're having the time of their lives. Some people, brothers and sisters, I don't know why, they feel I need to know what they're having for breakfast, and then for lunch and for dinner they send me all types of pictures of food. I don't know what they expect me to do with it, but okay, fine, they're having lovely meals. So what happens? Inferiority becomes a reality. I think, oh, he has it. How come I don't have it? And I try to aspire and aspire and aspire, and it's basically a mug's game. It's a loser's game.
This is a demonstration of
So this is what happens with the world, and this was one take on this hadith of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. Where Muharram really helps in this is that we see Imam Hussain, he kind of behaves in such a way that is so peculiar. He doesn't follow any of the worldly norms.
This is a demonstration
It's
of
amazing.
wirecast.
He doesn't follow any of the worldly greed. He doesn't have any of the worldly fear. He takes his children, he takes his women folk. They are devoted to him. He is devoted to them. He goes without food and water. All he has to do is to put his hand in the hand of another person and say, I do bay'at. He says no. People say to him, Hussain, save your life. He tells us no. Death with dignity is better than a life with humiliation.
Of wirecast.
People say to him, Hussain, you don't have to be truthful. Just do it as a false gesture. He says, no, I'm more dignified than this, that I give my hand even in a false gesture. People say to him that, oh Hussain, your women and your children will be sacrificed. He says to them, they are willing. I have freed them. They themselves do not want to leave me. Hussain gives us another world view.
This is a
And
demonstration
every time we
of
come
wirecast.
to the majalis and we hear these things, we are transported into this world of Imam Hussain. The pity is, and the side of us which we need to work on, is that once we leave that door back there, how long does this feeling last? Karbala, Ashura, Hussain, Abi Abdullah should be not an event, not a historical event. It should be an attitude. It should be a mindset.
This is a demonstration
So that's the
of
challenge,
wirecast.
inshallah. We convert this experience, this inspiration, these lovely words into an attitude for ourselves and a mindset. Imam Hussain is a mindset. He's a culture. He's a civilization in himself. So when we talk about the world and how we behave with the world, inshallah, we remember with inspiration the words and the actions of our Mawla and our Master Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
Now, coming on to today's topic, dealing with people. When we consider Islamic spirituality, Islamic ethics, many of us, we are determined to change ourselves and reform. And really, I salute these people. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appreciates this. Islam appreciates this. But I guess we find
This
one
is a
difficulty.
demonstration of wirecast.
And that is people. Sometimes you're fully charged with spirituality. You want to do wonderful things. But then you meet someone. He may spoil your mood. She may disappoint you. They may engage in backbiting. Or for young families, it's very difficult to maintain a good temper, calmness, coolness, peace of the heart and mind.
This is a demonstration
When your
of
children, for
wirecast.
example, are giving you trouble, or your family situation is not healthy, it's very difficult. We can easily slip into some bad habits. We can start shouting, screaming, and all sorts. So how do we deal with people? Does Islam have any teachings about this? Inshallah, we look into this. So we have this following famous verse of the Holy Quran, which I'm going to use as my basis for the beginning of this lecture. Allah says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people.
This is a demonstration
Inna
of
khalaqnakum min
wirecast.
dhakarin wa untha. Allah basically lays out in this world His whole blueprint of how people should behave with one another. He says, you are all the same at one level. That we have created you from a male and female. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا. And then we have put you into different nations and tribes, لِتَعَارَفُوا, that you may get to know each
This is a
other.
demonstration of
لِتَعَارَفُوا means
wirecast.
mutual recognition. إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. But human nature is such, isn't it, that we're always looking for some criteria of how to judge ourselves. This is the most important things. Unfortunately, we spend too much time on judging others, whereas really we should be spending that time on ourselves. If you want to judge yourself, then look at your piety. Piety is the criterion that Allah has
This is a
set.
demonstration of wirecast.
Now, Allah, I often say this, Allah has not created us in a factory with a conveyor belt, the way they make laptops and phones and tablets. It's an assembly line process. Everyone is created the same, identical parts. The robots put it together. Allah has not created us like this. Allah has created us very much as individuals, and there's a lot of diversity.
This is a demonstration
Have
of
you noticed,
wirecast.
for example, that it's human nature that whenever you encounter someone different, whenever you see someone different, could be different faith, could be different culture, the human mind tends to initially spot differences. Usually this is the case. People, when they encounter, they usually start off
This is a
by
demonstration of
noticing
wirecast.
differences. And then with a lot of effort and extra effort, we then have to make some effort in noticing similarities. But usually we notice differences. This is human nature. You may have noticed when you walk into a room of strangers, you first scan the room and you think, who looks like me? Who do I know? I can see all different kind of people here. So you need to make a little bit more effort in noticing the similarities.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
But once we make that effort, we'll see that actually there's a lot of similarities between people. There's a lot of common ground. Yes, there are differences. And we should be brave and principled enough to recognize the differences. There's no problem in that. Integration is not the same as assimilation. Integration is not the same as copying one another. If that is the meaning of integration, then we have not understood.
This is a demonstration
Integration
of
is,
wirecast.
I can be who I am and you can be who you are, and we can get along just fine. So, initially, we take a lot of effort in recognizing similarities. Now, if we are not careful and we don't make that effort, then it can lead to problems. Because all we will be doing is we'll be focusing on differences between people. And that's not healthy. Because that will lead to
demonstration
conflict.
of wirecast.
Okay. Now we've established that. Now let us discuss some of the Islamic teachings on this matter. Islam as a religion has a very rich area of ethics. Honestly, if you take the time out, which I'm sure you have, but I'll just say it again. If you take time out and study Islamic ethics properly, as a science, because it is a science, it is a proper science which has had effort put into it by our respected scholars over the years. If you put your effort into Islamic ethics, you'll see that broadly speaking, we can split Islamic ethics into two. Haqqullah and haqqun nas. Rights of Allah, rights of people. And these two, unfortunately, we think sometimes that they are mutually exclusive. Actually, they're the same coin, two sides.
This is a demonstration of
Service
wirecast.
to Allah and service to humanity, respect with Allah and respect with others are one coin with two sides. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The first thing which I want to mention as a practical point, so there's going to be a few practical points, inshallah. We'll see what the time, how much support the time gives us. The first thing is that when we deal with people,
This is a
do we
demonstration
deal
of
with them
wirecast.
on terms of rationality or on terms of emotion? What does Islam say? Let me first of all dispel a few myths. Emotions in religion, especially Shia Islam, are they important or not? Emotions. Are they important or not?
This is a
We
demonstration
could
of
say
wirecast.
the whole of the event of Karbala, its dissemination by Bibi Zainab and Imam Sajjad alayhim as-salatu was-salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, was done through the spirit of emotion. Our love for Ahlul Bayt, our attendance to majalis, our tears on Farsh Aza, on this wonderful platform of Imam Hussain.
This
All
is
of
a
these things
demonstration of
require
wirecast.
emotion. However, what Islam says is that your emotions are well and fine, but their root must be within rationality. Rationality, aql and ma'rifat, must guide your emotions. So you should be able to discern when to be emotional and how to be emotional. You should be able to
This is a
discern through your
demonstration of
intellect,
wirecast.
which is faultless, when to be and how to be engaged in emotions. Unfortunately, when we come across people and we deal with people, many a time our emotions tend to get in the way. Anger, arrogance, these kinds of things, they get in the way. In Islam, what we say is, we are a truth-driven and
This
a
is a
proof-driven
demonstration of
mazhab.
wirecast.
Definitely. If you look at the efforts that the alims have placed on our religion over the 1400 years, honestly, I don't know how we can thank them. The systems and processes that they have in coming up with our Islamic teachings, proving them. Many people think that these are not proven, or they are the opinion of just someone somewhere in the Middle East. It cannot be further from the truth. There's been a lot of effort put in to make sure that we have a highly rational and logical system. However,
This is a
the
demonstration
problem
of
is we
wirecast.
confuse rationality with common sense. What is the difference between rationality and common sense? Anyone would like to hazard a guess? Are they the same thing or are they different?
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
Rationality would be the best option. Common sense is what a common person would say. So does a common person not have rationality? Something, common sense is emotional? This is the essence.
This
Common
is a
sense,
demonstration
brothers
of
and sisters,
wirecast.
Is actually not very common. It'll change from person to person. Have you noticed? Two people look at the same thing, they interpret it differently. Common sense is not rationality. Common sense changes person to person, time to time, gender to gender, age to age, educated, non-educated, professional, non-professional, businessman, non-businessman. Every single person has their own common sense.
Wirecast.
Now, what if we applied common sense to religious matters? Then we'll have, if there are 50 people in the room, we'll have 50 ways of practicing our religion. What happened 100 years ago will not happen today because common sense has changed. And our great-grandchildren will not have the same religion because common sense will change. Common sense is not the same as rationality. Common sense does not have a role
This is a demonstration
in
of
terms
Wirecast.
of being a religious proof, because it is subject to change. Rationality never changes. What is rationality? If it's not common sense, then what is it? Rationality is what we call floorless logic, not day-to-day logic. Floorless logic, like what? If you want to give it a technical name, it's what we refer to as Aristotelian logic.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
For example, 2 plus 2 equals 4. 500 years ago it was the same. 500 years hence it will be the same. There's no change. It's an aqli, it's an intellectual exercise. Two opposites cannot occupy the same place at the same time. Can it be nighttime outside and daytime outside at the same time, at the same place?
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Can night and day exist together in one place at the same time? They cannot. Can this be a mimbar and something other than a mimbar at the same time in the same space? It cannot. That is what we mean by flawless logic. So the first thing is that we must behave with one another on the basis of rationality, because everyone will accept rationality. Everyone will accept flawless logic.
This is
That's
a
number one.
demonstration of
Number two.
Wirecast.
Now this is especially relevant for Jamaat issues. And I don't know about this Jamaat, but I'm talking about across the world, across the board, Jamaats in general, communities in general, even families in general. Islam says, for God's sake, adopt an attitude of we, not me. This is very evident in the Holy Quran. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that in the hereafter, although we will be raised individually from our graves, once we are raised, we will not be then seen as individuals. This is a beautiful concept in the Quran regarding the hereafter. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Yawma nad'u kulla unasin bi imamihim. Allah says we will raise every peoples in groups of people with their leaders, with their imams. Now, is this capital I imam or lowercase I? We seem to think it is capital I. In other words, some of us will be raised with the first imam, some with the second imam, some with the third imam, some with the fourth imam, etc. Actually, no. According to interpretations of Quran, if you are a proud person, do not be surprised if you are raised with, God forbid, Fir'aun as your imam. In this world, you are saying Hussein, Hussein. In that world, what will it be? I don't know. Your heart will dictate that. If you are an oppressor and a tyrant, will Imam, for example, the sixth Imam, he will accept you into his group with tyranny and oppression? If you never had time for Allah, Imam Sajjad, the king of all the du'as, he will accept you in his group? I find it highly unlikely. Scholars have said it can't happen. So inshallah, we hope that we are such that our actions portray the akhlaq of our imams, but not necessarily if we don't act upon it. So this is also very, very important. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Hence, being part of a community is not a marginal thing. It's not like a subscription to a society of engineers or doctors or businessmen. where 1 month you can subscribe and the next month you can desubscribe and you can ask for your money back and you can stop your subscriptions. No. The spirit of the community in which you belong is inculcated in every drop of your blood in your body.
Of wirecast.
So why don't we recognize this and we say to ourselves, my community is more important than me as an individual? Maybe I'll have to make some sacrifices. Maybe I'll have to reform my character in order for my community to be benefited. Maybe I'll need to become a more principled person for my community to stand proud, to be proud Muslims, not to hide our faith, not to be scared, not to be ashamed of these sacrifices which have been given for us. Not that we manipulate our religion the way we see fit. These are all pertinent questions. May Allah give us strength, inshallah. May He give us tawfiq to answer these difficult questions. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now, time really is not on our side, but we will try, inshallah, 1 or 2 more points. We have in Islam
This is a demonstration of
a
wirecast.
section of akhlaq. What is akhlaq? Someone tell me. Good. Behavior and how you act. In a word, ethics. Some people say morality. Fine. Ethics and morality. That is akhlaq. We have in our akhlaq a section of akhlaq which is called makarimul akhlaq. There's a famous dua
This
as
is
well
a demonstration
called
of wirecast.
Dua Makarimul Akhlaq. Generally we recite it once a year. Now, what is Makarimul Akhlaq? It is the pinnacle of ethics and manners. And we have some hadith on this. For example, the following hadith. It says, Sil man qata'ak wa'ati
This is a
man
demonstration of
haramak
wirecast.
wa'afu amman dhalamak. Inshallah, Allah give us strength. The hadith says, someone who breaks relations with you, you go after them and join your relation with them. You go to someone in your hour of need and you say, bro, I need some help. I need some money.
This is a
I'm
demonstration
needy
of
at the moment.
wirecast.
I'm in a dire strait. He says, no, get lost. I'm not going to give you. 6 months later, you're in a better position now. He's suffering and he comes to you and he says, you know what? I need help. Usually we would say, remember what you did to me 6 months ago? Islam says, no. You give him, you make sure you damn well give him what he's asking for. Someone does wrong to you.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
Someone who oppresses you, you make sure you forgive him. This is makarimul akhlaq. This is the pinnacle of akhlaq. Now, from the teachings of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad alayhimu salatu wassalam, we have the following. First Imam says, one who does not repay evil with goodness is not from among the noble.
Of wirecast.
We all want nobility, we all want dignity, we all want respect. Imam says, if you do not repay evil with good, then you are not amongst those who are noble. Quran says, Hal jaza'ul ihsan illa al ihsan. If someone does good to you, you do good to them. That's a general thing. But Ahlul Bayt teach us, even when someone does bad to you, you do good to them. What we tend to do is someone does bad to us, we will do double back. Then they'll do triple back. And then quadruple back. This was one of the things that the Holy Prophet put an end to. When he comes to Medina, he sees these two big tribes, Aus and Khazraj, at each other's throats. They have got a generations old row. Do you know what about? What was their row about? I'm not surprised that you can't tell me. You know why?
This is a
Even they had
demonstration of wirecast.
Even they had forgotten why we are rowing. It's been so long. It's been passed down generation to generation, child to child. Even they didn't know. But they held each other as enemy. So, Islam says that you must forgive. Now, very important question I want to ask, and this is not for everybody. But, well, these are the teachings of my Mawla, so I have to share them with you.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
What if someone abuses you? It happens. Someone can treat you badly, someone can abuse you. Some things, okay, fine, we can have what we call husn zan and a good idea about someone. But what if someone comes onto your face and says something about you? Abuses you right there and then? Here, let me share with you one beautiful poem of the first Imam. Now, I don't know how we can thank Allah that we are acquainted with Mawla Kainat Imam Ali alayhi salatu wassalam.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
He says, the Arabic speakers will enjoy this. He says, قَدْ أَمُرُّ بِاللَّئِيمِ يَسُبُّنِي فَمَضَيْتُ وَقُلْتُ لَا يَعْنِينِي. At times, I pass by a person with a mean character
This is a
who swears at
demonstration
me.
of wirecast.
People used to swear at our first Imam, if you can believe that. I sometimes pass by a person with a mean character who swears at me. I just carry on walking and I say to myself, he didn't mean me. He didn't mean me. He was walking by and he said to himself, he didn't mean me.
This
In
is
other
a
words, I'm going to have a
demonstration of
good
wirecast.
thought about that guy. See, there's a big difference. We say, forgive and forget. But what if we can get to a stage where someone's abuse doesn't even need to be forgiven and forgotten because we didn't register it in the first place? Do you see the cleanliness of heart, how it can come about? Can you see how these things can come about?
Of wirecast.
Forget this forgive and forget. That's once you feel offended, you register it, you recognize it, you say, oh, he said this, then it takes you time, people advise you, your wife advises you, the husband advises the wife, forget it, forget it, forget it, after time, fine, it's forgotten. No, Mawla says, just think that he meant someone else. It wasn't even about me. Don't even let it register in the mind. This is our first Imam's teaching. Now,
of wirecast.
another thing, let's go even deeper. This next thing, inshallah, if I have the ability to explain it, I'll try to explain it, but it's very profound. Again, Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He says the following. My Arabic brothers, help me with this. Al-Kareem
This is a
yataghafalu
demonstration of
wa
wirecast.
yankhadi'u. What does it mean? It's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy Arabic. Al-Kareem, noble person. وَيَنْخَدِعْ. Yes, ahsant. A noble person.
This is a
A
demonstration of
noble person.
wirecast.
Just listen to this. A noble person will do yataghafal. Taghaful. Taghaful is like, you know, you've heard this hadith that in, for example, when you cannot cry for Imam Hussain, let's say, I don't know, for whatever reason, you're not able to generate tears for Imam Hussain, what is the recommendation to do? Tabaki. Tabaki means what? Kind of like pretending you're crying.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
Out of respect and dignity. In other words, okay, I cannot generate tears at the moment. At least let me put my head down, my hand over my face. At least let me participate to that extent that I at least show that I'm trying to cry. It's the nearest I can get to tears. Now taghaful. Taghaful comes from ghafla. Ghafla means to be heedless, to be inattentive.
This is a demonstration of
Taghaful
wirecast.
means putting an air of heedlessness on yourself. Convincing yourself that this hasn't happened. Almost willingly and voluntarily becoming heedless. Pretending that you didn't hear. And then Imam says, وَيَنْخَدِعْ, and he allows himself to be deceived. Subhanallah.
This is a
You know, some people, they
demonstration of
come
wirecast.
and they start spinning a yarn. And they start telling you all kinds of rubbish. And all kinds of what we say, bakwas. And you know that this is not true. What do? Do you confront him? Do you say, no, you're a liar? A noble person doesn't do that. A noble person allows himself to be deceived.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
For example, sometimes fathers and mothers will identify with this. Your child comes to you and says something. And you know deep down that it's a lie. You know deep down this is not true. But you kind of stand there and say, oh, really? Really, tell me more. Tell me more. Oh, wow, okay. And you choose when to confront your child and when not to. And sometimes you say, okay, on this one, it's not worth confronting.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
That is like you're allowing yourself to be deceived. Does this mean you're stupid? No. You know what's going on. You're switched on. But sometimes in community matters, this is necessary. In dealing with people, if we want to have a higher moral extent of our behavior, if we want to touch makarimul akhlaq, then sometimes we need to just let things go. And allow people just to vent sometimes is fine. Leaders of the community, elders of the community, experienced people.
Of wirecast.
This is what you have to do, to get on and allow people, because not everyone is at the same level. There may be people there with issues, with gripes, with emotions. Who knows? Allah help them. But sometimes this is required in a kareem, in a noble person, that he doesn't pick up on these small issues, man. Let it slide. Let it go. It's not worth picking on these small things. So it's not that he's not clever. He's very clever.
Of wirecast.
But sometimes they allow people to act cleverer than them. It's fine. This is makarimul akhlaq. Allah give us tawfiq, inshallah, to practice these makarimul akhlaq, to further our community, to engage with one another in a positive manner. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Our beloved Hussain, we send you salams.
Of wirecast.
Tonight is the 6th night of Night Muharram. The ashab of Imam Hussain did not allow a single blood of Ahlul Bayt to be spilled until they had all first gone forth and spilled their blood. Once the ashab have been killed, it becomes the turn of the Ahlul Bayt. And tonight we remember the most unlikely shuhada.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
Bibi Zainab had 2 sons. Some histories say one was her proper son and one was her stepson. Aun being her proper and Muhammad being the stepson. She was very much attached to them. They were very much attached to her. And they were very much attached to one another. Bibi Zainab looks around the camp. This is night of Ashura and also morning of Ashura.
This is a demonstration of
what does Bibi
wirecast.
Zainab see? She sees every mother taking pride in making their own sons ready for sacrifice, for the honor of participating in this grand occasion, Karbala. Bibi Zainab looks at her own sons. She says, will you offer yourselves to your uncle Hussein? They reply, Mother, we are prepared,
This is a demonstration
but we
of
fear that he
wirecast.
will not give permission to us. He loves us too much. We will need your help in this matter. Bibi Zainab says, go forth, approach your uncle, speak to him, request him, see what he says. They come to Imam. Oh uncle, do you give us permission to go out and fight for you in Karbala? Imam turns away. They go again. Oh uncle, do you give us permission to fight for you in Karbala? Imam turns away again. They become disheartened. They say to one another, we know the way of getting to Imam. No one can deny that the closest person to Imam is our other uncle Abbas. Let us go to Abbas and request him to have a word with our uncle Hussein. They come to Hazrat Abbas. Abbas also turns away from them. He is also very much in love with these two boys. They now come back to their mother.
This is a demonstration
They say,
of
Mother,
wirecast.
we have asked, we have requested, we have pleaded. Our uncle is denying us. We went to our other uncle Abbas. He does not want to know. What do we do? Janab Zainab approaches her brother Imam Hussain. She says, dear brother Hussein, as you know, I have nothing of my own that I can offer you, but I have my two children. I request you to accept them from me for this sacrifice.
This is a
Imam
demonstration of
reluctantly
wirecast.
agrees, but Imam says, before I can accept, I want to ask my brother Abbas, the fearless warrior of my army, that he must train them on how to combat. Imagine Janabi Abbas, this towering figure, gives a few minutes of tutorial of how to fight in the battle to Aun and Muhammad. How much they would have learned, how much they would have picked up, only Allah knows. They go out. Before they go out, Imam Hussain calls them, Hazrat Abbas calls them. They begin to put on them the armor. The armor is too large for these two young boys of Bani Hashim. The armor does not even fit them. They are told, now go onto the horse. They cannot climb the horse. Imam lifts one and puts him on the horse. Hazrat Abbas lifts the other and puts him on the horse. They ride out into Karbala. They fight bravely. They advise one another. They talk to one another. They remain as close as possible to one another. But the battle is such that the two of them become separated. Aun and Muhammad are now separated in the Maidan of Karbala. The first to fall from the horse is the younger one, Muhammad. When he falls down, he cries out, "Oh brother, adrikni, come to me." Janabi Aun rushes over to Muhammad. Muhammad leaves this world. Janabi Aun is now surrounded. He is hit from every side. As he falls to the ground, he cries out, "Ya Aba Abdullah, oh Uncle Hussein, come to me." Every moment that Imam Hussain was waiting for, that his own nephew has called him, he rushes over to Aun. He sits by the head of Aun. Aun leaves this world. Hazrat Abbas and Imam Hussain take these two small lashes, these two small bodies back to the tents. Do you know what they say happened next? They say that whenever the son of any mother used to come into the tent, the mother would cry and grieve. But here, surprisingly, Bibi Zainab is not grieving that much. We have to ask, "Oh Zainab, what has made you not not grieve over these two boys. Maybe Bibi Zainab will reply, I need to save my tears, for in some moments Akbar's body will be brought back to the tents, and then Abbas's body will be brought back to the tents, and then Hussein's body will be brought back to the tents. I have lots to cry over. Allah la'natullahi al-qawm al-zalimin. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ مَاتَمَ Hussain.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
Inte Shahebul Hasan Mar gaye jaaye tere.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.
Haye mo khurshid ma तोड़ के दम कर के दे गए रंजो महन. मर गए जाए तेरे. मांग के पानी का जाम हो गए दोनों तमाम. हाय वो तिश्ना दहन मर गए जाए तेरे. बात तलक भी न की खुद की बस राह ली. कम सुखनों बे जख्मों से चूर.
This is a demonstration of wirecast.